Welcome to Deep Thought. See outside of your bubble. Always look outside your bubble. What is your bubble? Your bubble is where you live. Your bubble is the group of people you hang around. Your bubble is just your environment. It's where you go and everything. See outside your bubble. Now, I thought about this the other week because the bubble I live in, got people with money. I live complex I live in. It has people. Well, you gotta have some money to live here. First of all, you can't be a broke dude in here. We don't have any Section 8 in here. You gotta have money and great credit to live here. Trust me, they check the credit first and everything. So you gotta have that to live where you live, right? And then as you expand my little area, it got mostly people who got, driving good cars, staying in good shape, plenty of gyms, a ton of gyms in this area. Okay, but that's a bubble. That's a bubble. And I thought about that because, y'all remember I said I had to, after my stroke, I couldn't eat. I couldn't have anything down my throat. So I had to have, get some liquid, called Jevity. I finally got the name. I don't have them anymore, but which I had to inject through a tube. Right now, I had about 9 boxes of it I didn't use since I went through speech therapy, was able to get something to eat. So I had a bunch of it. I didn't just want to throw it out. It was good stuff. So I took it to a food bank. I live in Abingdon, Maryland. And for those Harford County crew, y'all know where I'm talking about. I took it over to a food bank over in Edgewood. Edgewood's a poor area. And I thought about that because, I took it over and I remember seeing people in line and definitely poor. People, I took it to a food bank, Now the food bank, they really couldn't use it, but they said they knew some place where they could take it. They knew a senior's home, they could take the stuff. So I brought the stuff over. And I thought about that because I then went to this flea market down in Joppatown. And, I was looking at the people there and I was like, it was a big difference between the people in Edgewood and Joppatown and the people I see in Abingdon and Bel Air. Major difference. You can even see a physical difference. But sometimes I had to be reminded of that because usually I'm in this area. And it's a lot of stuff here, but it's a bubble here. You got, it's interesting, in this country, there's complaints about the fertility rates. And that has made babies being born. But in this particular area, this is like a bedroom community. You see nothing but children. But you have a different type of person because it's actually, this particular county overall is actually, the household income is 6 figures. But it's not as rich as some of the other counties in Maryland and Virginia in the DMV area, but it's richer than most counties across the state. So you see different types of people, but that's a bubble. A bubble could be your spiritual group, your religious group. You're around people behaving a certain way all the time because you get some people, they go to temple all the time, church all the time, mosque all the time. And, they mostly around that type of person. Maybe even when they're working, that's a bubble. But sometimes you got to see outside your bubble. I enjoyed the experience because I had to be reminded. It was where you live and where you hanging out at, got a bit more money than over here. And the only thing really separating is a big old highway. That's the only thing really separating the areas is a big old highway. But, I had to remind myself, some people struggling. Because I remember even when I brought the Jevity over to the food place, there was a woman, she was getting a whole bunch of food, and, teeth were bad. She was pregnant, young and pregnant, but you can tell, the circumstances had aged her some, You could tell she was poor. And I actually helped her because she had a cart I needed, so I actually helped her take her stuff off of her cart, get it into her car. And I thought about that. It was She was young and pregnant, yet you see like I see like, I can look out my window sometimes, see like Barbie dolls walking their little dogs around, a lot of dinks, because we got a lot of those couples in this area too. Dinks, you know, dual income, no kids couples, and you know, with dogs. You see that around, even though you do have a few kids in this immediate area, but still, that's a bubble. That's a bubble. You know, going through life, you got to ask yourself what's outside of what your bubble is. A lot of people don't see outside their bubble. You know, when I talk about class and everything, those are bubbles. There's a big difference. One, you know, you got the wealthy, they in their own bubble. I've been in some wealthy areas, like especially, not so much in this area since I'm used to it, but actually we do. We got some mansions. I'm like about 10 minutes driving distance from some mansions, straight up mansions. And, you know, that could be a bubble right there. But then when you get a wealthy area, the type of stores they go to and everything, the stores in the area, the yoga studios, ballet studios, the gyms, that's a bubble. But then you go over a bit, another bubble is an area where you might have a bunch of pawn shops and tattoo shops and things of that nature. You know, cheaper stores, they got cheaper clothing and everything. Like people familiar with Harford County, trust me, it's a big difference in the stores in Abingdon and Bel Air and then in Edgewood. A big difference. But you got to try to see outside of your bubble. Try to as much as possible. Remember, wherever you at, they ain't it. And I can tell when some people talk, that's their bubble. Like let me use the class thing. A lot of people think, I use it in the black community. A lot of people, there's some people within the black community think everybody's at the same thing. I say, no, they haven't seen outside their bubble. I've been around blacks who had money, but I've also been around poor ones. Even to this day, I got a range of friends or acquaintances. They're in different worlds, you know? And that's the same thing in the white community as well. I can see that around here. There's like in Harford County, I can see the difference between the whites coming out of those like mini mansions and those who live over in Edgewood. They just look different. The young women look different. Like I said, I was helping a young lady, but she looked older than her age. She was pregnant. She looked older than her age and everything. Looked like life just tore her up. Versus some women, young women from like the Bel Air area, they happy-go-lucky. Because they got everything, but those are two different worlds. But one of the things you want to understand, you want to try to see out your bubble for one reason. It exists. You never know. You still should have an idea what's going on. You still should, you know, as best as possible. Yeah, you working and you living in a certain area, but every now and then go to another area. I remember somebody who lived out in LA, who I was doing some consultations with. And they said they actually went to they just took a bus over to Beverly Hills and just hung out for a day. And it was very different. It was very different from where he usually lived. That's very important. Like you want to like find out about different groups. You don't have to hang out with them, but at least find out about them. Find out different, you see a different perspective. I remember the first time I was introduced to a group that practiced an African-centered spiritual system, the All Saw Set Society. I did a report on them because I had worked with a member and then contacted her and I had to do a report on a different type of spiritual group for one of my classes in college. I had to take some religion classes. It was a Jesuit institution, so everybody had to take these classes. And it was the first time I was introduced to a different way of being and what they were talking about and everything. And it was just like, wow. Wow. It just gives you a different perspective. So, I mean, just going through life, you want to try to see outside of your bubble. Because we all have one. We have one. As much as I interact with different groups of people, I still have a basic bubble. You know, but I look outside of it. Everybody need to try to look outside of their bubble to see what's there, all right? So anyway, I want y'all to think on this, and I'll get back with y'all later. Peace and blessings.